Hello Super Stallions, I want to talk to you about some things you can do to your sewing sampler after you finish sewing. There are some stitches you can add to it, there are some buttons and fabric and felt you can add to it, and you might have some other ideas, but I'm just going to give you some examples. So let's go through them one by one. Okay, I want to show you the double running stitch. The double running stitch lets your regular running stitch have a solid line, and the way we do that is we start in the back at any stitch, and then on the front we go into the next stitch, and on the back we go into the next stitch. So we're basically retracing the stitches we did the first time all the way around to give us a nice thick solid line. Sometimes you have part of your sampler that you'd like to stand out or to be brighter than the rest of it. That nice solid line is a way to do that. I'm going to keep going all the way around my tulip right here, and I'll show you what that looks like when I get all done. Let's talk about sewing on a button. I've grabbed some buttons I'm thinking about, and I think I'm going to add some of them maybe to the center of my flowers. So I'm going to take this button, I'm going to think about where it's going on my felt. I'm going to kind of hold it there. And I actually want to start, since we want our knots on the back, I'm going to start by feeling where those holes are and bringing the needle up through the hole. Okay, now I've got my thread in my button. I just need to make it stronger. So the way I'm going to do that is a series of stitches that go into the back and into the front. You can do it a few times. You have to kind of feel where the hole is, or bring your needle through and move the button a little bit to get to the hole. I would say in general you want to kind of go through twice. So maybe come up once and go into each hole twice so that that button's real strong. So I'm just going to go once more through these other two holes right here. And then when I feel like that button's really on there nice and securely, I'm going to turn it over and tie a triple knot and then cut that off. Pretty simple, and allows you to have a nice three-dimensional shape on your sewing. Take a look at these two white pieces of felt that I've decided to add to my clouds. I've cut them out of scraps of felt, which you can find in the bucket in the hallway. You could also use a fabric scrap in the hallway if you want to. And I'm just going to add them to my sampler to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to start on the back, just like how we did our running stitch, only now I'm attaching. So I'm just going to start on the back so that my knot's on the back, and I'm going to do a nice running stitch all the way around that little cloud so that it can add to my sampler. You could do that with any shape. You could decide you want to add details to your sampler. Like maybe I would decide I want to add a sewn butterfly, or maybe I want to add some felt grass to my sampler. I could totally do that. Any details you want to add. I'm going to go ahead and add this on and show you what it looks like when I'm all done. Alright, the very last thing I want to show you is when you want to add some ribbon or some yarn or a pipe cleaner. Anything that you can kind of sew into your felt works. I'm going to use this pipe cleaner right here. So I have started with a knot on the back, and I'm deciding where my pipe cleaner is going to sit, and I actually want it to be a little three-dimensional and make the flower look three-dimensional. So I'm just going to sew stitches to help secure it to my felt. And I'll just kind of work my way around the flower, kind of securing it with stitches. You could think about any kind of fabric scrap you can find, or maybe you want to make something look like hair, so you cut and tie some yarn and attach it to a piece of your sewing. Or maybe you have another idea that's fantastic. You can kind of use those three-dimensional pieces however you like. You just need to attach them by sewing, and you need to do them securely. So I'm just going to kind of work my way around the middle of this flower, and then I'll tie a nice triple knot on the back. I want to see what ideas you guys have to add details to your sampler